Well, you've heard me say it before. If you've watched any of my videos, I do not like my Dometic fridge. It uses way too much power. I bought it off of word of mouth on YouTube. Everybody kept saying, get a Dometic. I love my Dometic. It's great. So I got one. Didn't do any research. Big mistake. Let me show you what I mean. This is the Engel website, and this is my fridge right here. My fridge freezer that I bought back in 2008. Let's click on it. Now, it is a little expensive. I didn't pay that much, but it was also 10 years ago. Get some pictures of it, and you got highlights, you know, the model number, the quart size, 34 quarts, and all that. But the one thing I love, it just stands out right out in the front. Power consumption. Look at that. 0.7 to 2.5 amps for a 12 volt DC system. That's what I have, and that's what most van people with solar panels have. It's right there on the front page. Almost slaps you right in the face. Go over here to Dometic. Here's the one I bought, the 18. Just start reading right there and just go on down. Nowhere do you have power consumption. We got some nice features, easy access, energy saving design. Yeah, we'll see about that. And more. Here we got storage, features, quick turbo chill function, memory, and then this one I thought was a pretty neat little function. Dead battery protector. Basically it senses your battery when it senses it gets down to 50%, it shuts off. So then it becomes a cooler. It's no longer a refrigerator, it's just a cooler. Here we got more blurb. No power consumption. Got specifications. Alright. No power consumption. Got dimensions. We got your voltage. Input for DC is 12 or 24. That's nice. That's all it's got on electrical. Tells you what type of refrigerant you got. Gives you some color and drain plug information. Doesn't have one. Doesn't matter. Neither does the Engel. And then you get to dimensions. Then we get to product drawings. And you can download the drawings if you want. Then we get into the manual. And you can download the manual if you want. I did. I had to find the information. So let's find that manual. And here it is. Compressor cooler. So let's read about this. Scrolling down, got the usual startup, easy features, how to read it. All this nice stuff, using the plug. You have to go all the way here to the end. It's like they buried it. Here we go. Technical data, section 12. 12 volt system. Guess what it's going to burn? 7 amps. 7 amps. Doesn't matter whether you have the 18 or the 25. 7 amps compared to 0.5 to 2.7. That's terrible. So that's one reason why I don't like the Dometic, and I love the Engel for that alone. So that's why I say do not get the Dometic, get the Engel. Let me explain that to you here a little bit better. So, what does all this mean? Well, the short answer is you shouldn't buy a Dometic. I'm going to try to delve into this a little bit better, explain this maybe in terms that are a little more simpler to follow. I want you to think of amps as oomph. Power. Oomph, baby. It's the oomph that needs to make something run. 12 volts. I want you to think of that as a system. Your house has a 110 volt system. Your vehicle has a 12 volt system. So it's a system. It's a connection of wires and other elements that take the oomph out of the battery and deliver it to your appliance. Your appliance has watts. Watts are what it takes. Watts are what are ready to receive the oomph from the system, the 12 volt system, and when the watts get the oomph, they work. Let's think of it this way. You have to lift something. Your arms are the watts. Your arms are the appliance. Whether it's a Dometic, an Engel, a rice cooker, a hot plate, a Max Air fan, let's say that your arms are that appliance. Your food is the oomph. But the food you get from a grocery store and you have to repair it, but it has to get to the arms. And the way it gets to the arms is when you eat it. Your mouth and your digestive system are the 12 volt system. So food is oomph, digestive system is the 12 volt system, your arms are the watts. Okay, so maybe that'll help explain it. Now your amps, they are kept in a battery bank. And I want you to think of the battery bank, I want you to think of that word bank as being very important, because the bank is a stingy, mean old bank. It will only let you have half of the amps that are in the battery bank. So if you have a 100 amp hour battery bank, you can only burn half. You can only burn up to 50 amps. If you burn 51 amps, you're damaging your battery. The bank says, you're overdrawn, we're going to start damaging your stuff, we're penalizing you. So let's think of this now in terms of the Dometic burning 7 amps per hour. Let's say that this is the top of my van and the sun's beating down on it, providing solar to my solar panels. The solar panels are wiring and putting in amps into my battery bank. At about 8 o'clock, let's say, the sun is no longer hitting my solar panels, so I'm not making any amps for my battery bank. And let's say that it takes all the way till 8 o'clock in the morning before the sun can beat down on my solar panels again. That's 12 hours. Okay, the Dometic burns 7 amps per hour. That's 84 amps. So you're way past the 50 amps on a 100 amp hour battery bank. But you say, the Dometic has a safety switch. It shuts off when it senses your batteries are at 50%. Yes, it does, and that's a nice little feature. So, when your batteries get down to 50 amps, if it burns 7 amps an hour, in 7 hours, that's 49 amps. Okay? 7 times 7 is 49. That's 7 hours. 7 hours from 8 o'clock is 3 o'clock in the morning. So, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got 1 extra amp. At 3:10, you probably spent that amp. And so, at 3:10, your Dometic shuts off. Guess what? It's not a refrigerator anymore. It's a cooler. And that's 5 hours if it's till 8 o'clock in the morning before it kicks back on. So for 5 hours, your Dometic has now been a cooler. But I got to ask you, are you running a fan, a fantastic fan, or a Max Air fan? Are you charging your phone? Are you charging a laptop? Are you doing any of those things? Are you running anything else? Guess what? They're still using amps. And they're going to decrease you below the 50, and so you're starting to damage your batteries. I'm running an Engel. I'm running a fan, a Max Air fan, and I'm running a second fan that I plug into my cigarette lighter that's going through my 12 volt system. So that would just kill my batteries if I had a 100 amp hour battery. That's why I don't like Dometic. Now you're saying, I have more than that. Good. But do the math. Figure out how much longer. And then you got to think about the next day. Are you going to get enough sun? If it's a cloudy day, it's a cloudy day right now. It's 9:30 in the morning roughly, and it's a cloudy day. It's going to rain here any hour now. It's a cloudy day. I'm not going to get sun. So if I take it down to half, and I run my Dometic, if I run the Dometic, it's probably never going to get me back up to 100% of my battery life. So you have to think about these things. What's the weather going to be like to the next day? Are you going to get enough? The most my amps meter has pulled in from the solar panels is 11 amps, and that's not consistent. It'll drop down to 5, it'll go up to 7, it'll go up to 11, it'll drop down to 8. So it fluctuates throughout the day. So if I get 11 amps, it only takes 7. That means I'm getting 4 extra amps to put into my battery bank. That's why I don't like the Dometic, in case you didn't hear me. Now you're saying, Dan, I don't have an amp meter. How do I know what my amps are at? You get a voltmeter. I have a voltmeter that's hooked up to my battery bank directly. Nothing interferes with it, and it runs 24/7. I can always look up and take a look at my voltmeter, and I know exactly where I'm at in terms of volts. You're saying, well, volts aren't amps. You just told us 12 volts was the system. Not. That's why I have a chart. Let me show you my chart. Now my chart is based on AGM batteries, which is what I have. And you'll see that at the top 100% is 12.9 volts. So anytime I look at my voltmeter and I'm at 12.9 or greater, I'm at 100% and I'm a happy guy. If my voltmeter reads 12.6, I'm at 75%. And if my voltmeter reads 12.3, I'm at 50 and I'm in a panic mode. So that's the chart I use, and that's how I know where my batteries are at in terms of amp hours, in terms of oomph. So I hope this helps you, and I hope you find it useful. And when you're going to go buy an appliance, something that's going to run in your van, always look at amps. Figure out what the amps are going to take out of your battery bank. Do the math, start subtracting, figure out how many hours you got left, how many hours you can use, how many hours a day are you going to use it, and do those calculations. Thank you. Addendum. You might be saying, well, Dan, everything I buy doesn't always tell me what the amps are. It's nice that Engel and Dometic show you what the amps are, even if you got to dig for the Dometic, but I don't always see amps. Almost every appliance will tell you what the watts are. So here's a little math formula. Take the watts, divide it by 12, because you have a 12 volt system, and that'll tell you what the amps are. You have a system, you buy something and you look it up and you see on the watts, it says it burns 84 watts. Divide that by 12, you're going to get 7. You take the watts, divide it by the 12, and that gives you your amps per hour. Let's take, for example, my rice cooker. When I bought it, I saw that it takes 300 watts to run. Okay, I divide that by 12, that tells me I've got 25 amps. That's a lot. But that rice cooker only runs for a half hour. So it takes 12.5 amps. I shut it off after it only takes 20 minutes, but I never let it run more than a half hour. I always look at the clock. So 12.5 amps for a half hour, and I make my rice in the middle of the day or the late afternoon when I got sun beating down on my solar panels. So it gets replenished real quick. It is a lot of amps, but like I say, it's not running 24/7 like I would like a refrigerator to be. Okay, one time I was out shopping and I thought about buying a regular dorm style refrigerator, maybe a little bit bigger. And I saw right on the box it said 4 amps. I was like, 4 amps, holy cow, great! And then I remembered it had a plug, electrical outlet plug. It runs on a 110 volt system. So you got to take the 4 amps, in this case, multiply it by 110, you get 440. So that's your watts. Take the 440 watts, divide it by 12, because that's your 12 volt system. So you got to take the 440, divide it by 12, and that gives you like 36.6 amps per hour. So just if you see something that does have an amp on it, that's nice, that's good. But see if it's got an electrical plug on it to plug into your wall outlet at your house. That's not the same amps that it's going to burn on your 12 volt system. So you got to do the math backwards that way. You got to take the amps that it's saying times 110. That tells you how many watts it's going to burn. Then you got to take those watts and divide it by your 12-volt system. That tells you what the true amp is for your van or your motorhome or whatever. So watch out for stuff like that. I almost got suckered in on that, but I decided, wait a minute, got to do the math. I hope this helps, and now you know why I don't like a Dometic. Wish I never bought my Dometic. It's basically a cooler. I only run it from maybe on weekends 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. It'll cool down. I put it on freezer mode. It'll cool things down. I won't get them frozen. 2 o'clock I shut off so it doesn't suck any more power out of my batteries. And it's basically an extra storage box right now in a seat. I sit on it when I cook in the van. If I had to do it over again, I would never buy a Dometic. When my Engel goes, I will definitely buy a new Engel because I'd rather lose 2 amps an hour than 7 amps an hour.